Today's Talk 365 Talking Wellness segment is presented by Wellness Team expert Dr. John Hatch.
Hey everybody, it's Holly. I am back with Dr. Hatch, but this time I'm in his office. I'm in your hood.
Welcome to our home.
I thank you so much for having me. So here's a little fact. 4 weeks ago, I came here and I got tested. All of your testing, and we found out I definitely have some problems because when you were on the show, we had a candid conversation on camera about the symptoms that people suffer from and the things that you do and how you come in where a lot of times people are at the place where they have no hope. And I have been working extensively with Dr. Rogers and Dennis Parker. They are Talk 365's wellness team. And upon meeting you, I was like, you're the third. You guys are a trifecta because when I read your book and I looked into your content, I'm like, all right, if he can help me, because I feel like I've done everything I could do and still having this problem of filling up with water. So we're here at the follow-up. I'm bringing you along so you can have a little behind the scenes and we can all find out together how Dr. Hatch can fill in the gaps when everybody else is like, I don't really know, Holly, maybe stress less. So it's all you, no pressure.
Alrighty, well we're excited. We're excited that you're here. Plus with your diagnostic test, it showed specific findings that there had been a head trauma sometime in her life. And there's specific findings on the eye test that show those types of markers.
So a year ago, I am walking from out of a house with some friends from a Christmas party and I slipped, but I hit the back of my head so hard and they said I was acting weird. They kept me up till 4 in the morning and the next day I was in so much pain, but I wanted to brush it off because I was embarrassed. And this is sort of the key to the kingdom of why I'm not getting results from all the diet and exercise I'm doing with Dr. Rogers and the specialty meals to heal my gut, and why I'm not getting the results from the PTSD and seeing a decrease in my cortisol response to stress from working with Dennis.
Absolutely, and both of those come from just an area of the brain. If you don't know where you are in your center of pressure, your gravity, if you feel like you're falling backwards, you'll get this tactile response. A tactile response is like kind of like a jerk response, and that's like when you get scared or startled, that makes your heart rate go up, it rushes to your extremities in case you have to run. Well, that doesn't help digestion. And so when you have this little center of posterior pressure, and as we saw on your test, and we'll show you guys in a little bit, it was massively posteriorly. So you already know that you're in that tactile response even if you don't want to be, even if you mentally try to get out of it. So first thing I just want to show you is the balance test. The balance test is a big window into how our system is working and not working. I have last time's tests up here.
Okay.
Here on the left, you have almost 2.5 inch posterior sway. Okay. And after a month of brain exercises, we now have less than 1.5 inches. That's how much your brain's improved.
Okay.
This is incredible. And then you look at these balance scores, and this one with your eyes closed went down a little bit, and the brain fluctuates, so it's okay that it goes up and down. Our goal is that we're improving in a general area.
And it takes 4 months.
It takes 3 to 4 months to hardwire the brain.
For this to really be done.
So it never reverts back to the old brain. It's called neuroplasticity. So your brain on the unstable surface, that's where you felt so unstable. You're at 63 and you're now at 84. The goal is 85. You have improved almost 20% in your balance stability scores on an unstable surface. So now that brain doesn't feel anxious or uneasy or other things because the body doesn't know where it is in space. It now starts to know, hey, if I get an unstable situation, that's fine for me.
Explain to me how the concussion relates to this.
Okay, so the concussion, once you've had a head trauma, alters where your center of pressure is versus where your actual center of pressure is. And that perceived versus actual is what causes our brain to be able to adapt or not adapt. Some people get head traumas and it stays in alignment and it's no problem. It's the ones that it gets off and no one correlates why someone gets an tactile response or an anxiety response or a fight or flight response because of a possible head trauma. Here, you felt so unstable every time you were on anything unstable. So every time you fly and travel, you'll get swelling more, or you'll...
So much swelling. So the swelling makes sense to you.
The swelling makes perfect sense to us. And so then here, when your head was, with your eyes closed, you were at 75%, it went up to 77.8. And our goal is just 80. So of these markers that all 4 of them, none of them you were in normal ranges, you now have 2 of them that are in normal range and 2 that are just on the cusp of making it. So as you're developing, we're improving your brain, but hey, we still have a weakness in another area. So it tells us, hey, as you improve this, we need to improve this. This is why we stay consistent for those 3-4 months and altering your brain, and no two brains are the same. I have to tell you, no two brains are the same. We have to make changes as your brain adapts. But then here, with your head to the left, you went from 73 to 80. So that means with your eyes closed and your head to the left, you're more stable than you are with your eyes open. But 5 of the 8 diagnostic tests got better. So now your ability to handle stress just went from maybe 6 hours of work to now 8 hours. It's something that can't be necessarily measured because people aren't aware of it. But your brain can take 10 times the amount of stress that it could before, so to speak.
Oh, I'm almost superhuman. Look out.
Yep. Look out.
Okay, I don't want to derail you at all, but tell me a little bit about when you had a concussion, because all of this whole concussion key thing, it doesn't matter when it happened. I took a pretty hard fall once. I was goofing around with friends and we were doing improv in LA. But I mean, I know this last one a year ago was really intense.
Really bad.
Tell me about your situation with concussions and how this sort of came in to be such a key thing, because it happens to people all the time. Look, I just named 2 in the last 5 years.
For me, my concussion, I was 13 years old. I was a really gifted kid. I was in gait classes in California where I grew up and got a concussion, blacked out, and didn't wake up for 18 hours. So I was, I guess, conscious. I couldn't remember anything. I didn't know that my mother had passed away. I didn't know that my brother had left for 2 years. Those types of things I didn't know.
So you were amnesia
all
state.
I did was wake up the next day and going, what just happened? Like deja vu. And so after that, school went from easy A+ student every time to C+, B-, really struggled in school.
Wow.
And it wasn't until I left the country and learned a language that developed a part of my brain that was most traumatized in my head trauma. My temporal lobe is where my damage was. So recall, long-term memory, all of those things weren't working. And after learning the language, it reconnected pathways. And I came back and was a 4.0 student back in college.
Wow.
So it was really incredible. But then what happened is I stopped studying the language and my brain started to go back down. I got into school, started studying this, started applying these exercises to my own brain, and now school's much, much easier.
Wow.
And these head traumas can be seen 20, 30 years later. And each concussion, if not repaired, gets worse. And the research shows now that head trauma is the #1 cause of leaky gut.
So where in the brain gets injured that causes the leaky gut? Is it anywhere?
Most of the time it's the brainstem. Okay, most of the
So it's
time is that
back of your-
brainstem that controls all the regulation of your heart and your gut, peristalsis and rest and digest. That gets rotated and it's like wringing out a towel. So those integrators get split up and start firing spontaneously. And at the same time, when you have a head trauma, you create swelling or you create activation of glial cells, and so that makes the brain inflamed. And that chronically, if that stays going, that chronic inflammation in the brain will then create permeability in the gut.
Whoa. So if it goes untreated.
Yeah, if it goes untreated, it's just going to be a ticking time bomb.
Okay, what's next? Bring it.
So
I'm
the
ready.
next one is the eyes. Biggest thing here with Miss Holly was that the eye was slightly turned in, which is an activation of the midbrain, and then we had this drift to the left, okay, which is usually a sign of some imbalance in the brain. We do a follow-up, and now, just because of this light reflex has now come more central, and we see that this line has now balanced and straight. It is moving a little bit. There's still some more to improve, but we're seeing great changes there. And then we go to the pursuits vertical. So this was last time. What we're trying to see is we see how many times she blinks. The number of blinks, we should only average blink 1 to 2 times per 7 to 8 seconds. Your brain needed to blink 4 times in 2 seconds. And it's blinking because it can't focus on the target. Your eyes, every time you blink, it's like a corrective lens. It's resetting that. So that means that it can't focus, and so it constantly is firing off that pursuit mechanism. Your eyes now track exactly the way they're supposed to. You see the blinking, which is why it makes it a little harder, but they're following that target just like they're supposed to.
The vertical being the one that was hardest for me, it's also one that we use all the time when we're on our phones.
Yep.
So let's talk a little bit about that, because
Okay.
where I would have my most symptoms happen would be when I would sit down at my computer to do a sales proposal, put a proposal together for a client, which I love, by the way. It's something I love to do. I love to get creative and quiet and sit there and think, and all of a sudden my body would shut down. My hands would like swell, and I felt like I couldn't use them or type. My ankles would start to swell up. I'd go meditate. I would eat healthy food. I would always, after one of these, I would always throw up whatever I ate the night before the next morning, like, not to be too graphic.
When you move your eyes in the vertical plane, it only activates muscles in your eyes that are controlled within your midbrain, which is the fight or flight response.
Okay.
Where when you move your eyes horizontally, it's primarily pons. There is a medial rectus muscle that moves, which is controlled by the midbrain, but it's reflexive. So you're activating the pons and it reflexively activates the other one. So that creates a balance between it. And the moment you get on a screen that's already light visually comes into the eye, it goes right into the brainstem. So you get the visual light and then the visual scrolling, and that creates such an increase in fight or flight response. And the best way to get you out of that fight or flight is a vomit response. Vomiting activates parasympathetics.
Wow.
So that's why you would
Constantly
vomit
be
to
throwing up.
compensate for the hyperactive midbrain.
Which brings in the weight situation, because I've gained so much weight over the past year, and it's really tough to talk about because I have not been eating cookies. I've been on a paleo or gluten-free diet, which half the time I can't even eat the food that's there.
Yep. As these brain exercises get locked in and working, and we get that brain working, and you've already done your part to remove the inflammatory stuff. If you maintain that, it allows the gut to heal. If the gut heals, you start to absorb. If it starts to absorb, the swelling decreases, the weight starts to change, and you start to see this massive change in your system.
So what's the plan for me at this point? What would you
So the
recommend
next plan
me do?
is that we're going to alter a couple little exercises, because 2 of these findings didn't improve at the level that we want. So we're going to make some changes to those exercises, and then we'll do another follow-up in a month, and we'll see if these tests are changing.
I live in Salt Lake, you're in Lehigh. My schedule is banana town, and I didn't do all of the times I was supposed to. So I'm so grateful and amazed and awed to see these results at this level, because I thought I would have to have a huge apology moment where I'd say, it's because I didn't come and I didn't do it and blah, blah, blah. But I'm even more motivated to make sure that my schedule works for me to get here, because obviously this is working.
Well, and that's the amazing thing, is even just the slightest little exercise, the slightest little change, we can see the brain improve. But when people stay on their therapies and they're committed, that brain will change, and you can change a hardwired brain into a fight or flight response and make it a consistent, more rest and digest state, and it never revert back based on, can we get that brain to fixate? And that's by the therapies.
I love it. Well, grab your book for me, because all of this is explained in this book right here. So if you are intrigued, if you are inspired and motivated and want to understand this more, especially, is it neuroplasticity?
Neuroplasticity.
Which is
There's
what
an
you just
entire
explained
chapter on it. Yep.
about how you can change it forever. If you're someone who is in therapy, if you're someone seeing a digestive doctor and you're not seeing results, get online, tell them where they can get it.
You just get on Amazon, The Basis of Brain Rehab.
And you can get this book, you can get some answers to your questions. Get on his website. You've got lots of videos and blogs there as well, a resource.
Yep.
And it's a great place to start, because education is huge and it makes you feel a lot better. And you need to stay tuned to Talk 365, our YouTube channel, and all of our social media outlets, because the new addition to our wellness team here, I feel like you guys, I have been sick so that you 3 guys could meet. And I'm really hoping that now I've done my job, I can be done being sick and I can go back to being like superpower Holly.
I like that.
Because I really do feel that way. It's been an interesting journey from meeting Dennis to Dr. Rogers to then having you come into this whole thing and become part of the wellness team for the show. I don't do anything on the show that I don't believe in, and I don't promote anything that I haven't experienced or I don't think is really beneficial and really valuable. And in this case, this last year, I've literally been going this journey, I've been walking it. And I've tried to keep positive and I've tried to press forward and keep a business going, but it's been tough. And I'm gonna cry. It's not been easy. So to have, to find you at this point, after working this hard with all these other incredible guys that are so talented, and I believe they have things that will absolutely change lives, has just been so much fun. So thank you, and thank you for joining the team, because I think the three of you together really are a trifecta, and we have big plans for fall 2017 to not only bring you great content that will enlighten, inspire, educate, and give you answers that you're seeking, but we are going to start having wellness weekends where you will actually be able to come and meet with them and spend real time and leave with real answers. Everything from day workshops to where you could go and spend an entire weekend to, I mean, you guys have plans for up to 10 days because you could really make some huge changes. So we have big plans. Be sure and stay tuned. In the meantime, get this book. And Dr. Hatch, thank you so much. I appreciate it a ton.
Very welcome.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back on Talk 365 right after this. I promise to stop crying.